past administration, the Governor Dapo Abiodun-led administration in Ogun State has recommenced reconstruction work on the KUTO flyover and the surrounding road. This is visible as the contractor handling the project have laid a second layer of asphalt on the bridge following a series of deliberations with the contractor who had sought verification and additional payment. The evaluation and rescoping, however, yielded concrete agreement to complete the project. It will be recalled that the project was abandoned halfway despite claims that a staggering 7 billion naira had been spent on the project by the immediate past administration. Other projects to which the incumbent administration has provided intervention include completion and conversion of some model schools constructed by the past administration into COVID-19 testing centers and ICT hub. Governor Dapo Abiodun has equally reiterated not to politicize any project on which taxpayers' funds have been expended, noting that the government would always work for the common interest of the good people of the state. The governor is currently in talks with contractors in charge of other uncompleted or abandoned projects in furtherance with the Building Our Future Together agenda. For easy access to quality health care at the grassroots, 20 primary health centers have been rehabilitated across the local government areas of Ogun State. Elizabeth Esson, who went around some of the projects, reports that the centers were not only rehabilitated but were also equipped in fulfillment of the government promises. Our report.
The development of any society depends on the health and well-being of its citizenry, hence the need for easy access to quality and affordable healthcare delivery. In Ogun State, rehabilitation of primary healthcare centers is one of the present administration's major focus in order to bring healthcare services closer to the grassroots and ensure that the most of the day-to-day health challenges of the people are promptly attended to.
What we've been able to achieve is actually refurbishing and equipping one PHC per local government, making a total of 20 PHCs.
Dr. Tommy Koka, Commissioner for Health in the state, says that the government will not only rehabilitate the health centers, but will also ensure adequate staffing and provision of facilities at the centers.
At this point in time, Ministry of Health is reviewing our staffing, the workforce, the general workforce from consultant right to the cleaner, to ensure that we are appropriately staffed in all these primary healthcare centers, secondary facilities, and even the tertiary. But this is a big piece of work that we're having to do in a very careful way to ensure that we use our resources effectively. We're doing a baseline analysis at the moment, and then we'll probably develop dashboard for the hospitals and facilities to assess their efficiency and productivity.
Going around some of the rehabilitated health centers in Shagamu, Remo North, Obafemi Owode, and Abeokuta South local government areas, it was observed that the interior complements the exterior, while workers are full of excitement and appreciation to the state government.
Before the rehabilitation, there was serious leakage. Anytime it rains like this, we have to find a bucket and be putting here and there. I'm very, very happy when this place was renovated. Very, very excited.
We have more patients that have been coming. Even we did immunization yesterday. We did more than before.
They have supplied us with new and recent equipment. It makes our services more easier. It makes the environment more conducive and more attractive.
The rehabilitation of the health centers to some patients and community members who spoke with Ogtv News was timely and commendable.
All the surroundings everywhere is fine and neat, better than before.
In fact, the nurses here are angels. They are mothers. They are lovely. They are caring. If I would want to be giving birth to all of my children here.
It has been rehabilitated. Now we have a lot of response. People are coming here now. Instead of taking their walls to maybe Shagamu or somewhere else, they're not patronizing the PHC.
Some of the rehabilitated primary health care centers visited include Owode Health Center, Makun Health Center, Ode Primary Health Center, and Irumbe Health Center. This gesture is also replicated across the remaining 16 local government areas of the state, which are Abeokuta North, Ado-Odo-Ota, Ewekoro, Ifo, Ijebu East, Ijebu North, Ijebu Northeast, Ijebu Ode, Ikene, Imekwafo, Ikpokia, Odeda, Odogbolu, Ogun Waterside, Yewa North and Yewa South local government areas. Elizabeth Esson, Ogtv News.
In a bid to help stem the continued rise of COVID-19 cases in the state, FLYOVER of Nigeria PLC has donated essential medical materials in form of oxidators, face masks, disposable gloves, protective garment, face gloves, and several thousands of test kits. Receiving the donation on behalf of the state government in our office, the Deputy Governor, Engineer Noimot Salakoyi, daily appreciated the organization for the support, saying the materials donated will be of good use, particularly for the health professionals, as well as help to control the spread of the disease. The Deputy Governor noted that recently it was 100 days since the first index case was recorded in the state, and unfortunately, the pandemic was still raging across not only in the state but the country as a whole, adding that the battle is on to provide the best care possible alongside mitigative relief materials for the people, especially during the lockdown period.
To battle to make sure that we are able to provide the best care for our people, and also to provide mitigating relief materials for the people who have suffered, especially during the lockdown that has been imposed to manage the surge of this disease. I'd like to appreciate the role that FLYOVER has played in ensuring insecurity across the country during this time. I know that they were called on and we had to have all hands on deck to meet the unprecedented demand that was placed on the food sector at that time.
She appreciated the role played by FLYOVER of Nigeria PLC in ensuring food security across the country, particularly during this difficult time, saying it was a great call on them in meeting the unprecedented food demand that has been placed on the food sector due to the pandemic. In his remarks, the Group Human Resource Director, FLYOVER of Nigeria PLC, Mr. Wale Adeniran, while commending the state government's efforts at flattening the curve of the pandemic in the state, informed that the donation of the essential medical materials and personal protective equipment was a fallout of the desire to ensure that the pandemic is conquered in its totality. Ogun State Government has clarified the information and process for the containment of industry and business premises as part of the measures to curtail the spread of COVID-19 pandemic in workplaces in particular and community transmission of the virus in the state as a whole. In the press statements issued in Abeokuta on Thursday by his press secretary, Governor Abiodun clarified that the main objective of the infection prevention and control guidelines for workplace in Ogun State issued earlier in the wake of COVID-19 is to ensure safe and conducive work environment for workers in both public and private sectors in the state and minimize the risk of spread of the virus. The key element in the guidelines is the requirement for industries and business premises to regularly decongest and decontain their workplace and environment. In this regard, each company or business owner is at liberty to engage any competent service provider of its choice for fumigation or decontainment. With an alarming figure of 717 reported cases of rape between January and May, the federal government has promised to do everything possible to stem the growing tide of the pandemic. The Minister of Information and Culture, Alhaji Lai Mohammed, made the pledge on Thursday in Abuja when officials of the National Human Rights Commission paid him an advocacy visit. According to the Inspector General of Police, between January and May 2020, the total of 717 rape cases were reported. I can assure you that the federal government will do everything possible to stem the growing tide of rape and gender-based violence in the country, the minister said. Mohammed disclosed that his ministry was partnering with the Federal Ministry of Women Affairs to launch a national campaign against rape and gender-based violence. He said the campaign would include advocacy, public sensitization and social mobilization. The minister commended the NHRC for its ongoing advocacy campaign against rape and gender-based violence. Earlier, the Executive Secretary of the Commission, Mr. Tony Ojukwu, said rape is a gross violation of human rights, rights to dignity, rights to life, rights to sexuality. Ojukwu said the public outrage on account of rape and other violent crimes against women and girls leading to the death of some of the victims had reached a horrifying and scary proportion in time. The Nigeria Center for Disease Control, NCDC, has announced the launch of 4 new COVID-19 test laboratories to the list of molecular laboratories network across the country. NCDC disclosed this on its verified Twitter handle. This brings the total number of laboratories in the country with the capacity to test for the virus to 38. The center also disclosed the laboratories are located in Ekiti and Kano State and the FCT. There are currently 38 laboratories in Nigeria with the capacity to test for COVID-19, according to the agency. It is planning to activate COVID-19 testing laboratories in Gombe and Ondo State. The NCDC had previously inaugurated COVID-19 testing laboratories in Lagos, Ogun, Kaduna, Borno, Kano, and Plateau states. As the coronavirus pandemic keeps spreading in Nigeria, the National Orientation Agency has expressed concern over the disobedience of many Nigerians to the prevention protocols against the spread of the deadly virus. Director General of the agency, Dr. Gaba Abari, stated this during the presentation of second report of the agency's observation on its sensitization activities in the fight against COVID-19 across the country. Abari said that persistent and remarkable disobedience of citizens and letting down their guard, as well as partial or total non-compliance to wearing of face masks, physical distancing and personal hygiene protocols have led to the increasing number of cases of COVID-19. The agency, however, called on stakeholders, religious and traditional leaders to expedite actions towards enforcing recommended guidelines for the safety of all.
Stay at home for non-essential workers, and other safety measures since the commencement of the partial lockdown. Such risky behavior would be detrimental to the fight against COVID-19, as it could expose many to contracting the virus. The government and the relevant stakeholders have been working tirelessly to contain the virus since the Indian case was recorded in Nigeria. But these efforts will not yield the desired results if citizens do not take personal responsibility for their protection against the virus by adhering strictly to prescribed guidelines, protocols, and precautions.
He also advised Nigerians against the myth and conspiracy that COVID-19 is not real. The Chairman, Association of Local Governments of Nigeria, Ogun State Chapter, Alhaji Bola Lawal, has flagged off residential fumigation exercise in the state. The exercise is in collaboration with Sekpol and Sons Enterprises, Abeokuta South, Abeokuta North, Ewekoro, Ifo, and Odeda local government. Kunle Kunle's report is presented in this package.
Efforts of the Ogun State government towards flattening the spread of coronavirus pandemic in the state cannot be overemphasized, hence the need for all stakeholders to support the state government. To this end, 5 local governments in Ogun Central Senatorial District have collaborated with Sekpol and Sons Enterprises to fumigate residential areas to combat the spread of COVID-19, as a Community Development Committee CDC leaders were sensitized on the need to fumigate their communities.
Fumigation is very important. It's for a lot of pests, rampage, roads, the food we eat, the water we drink, our environment, the toilets, the bedroom, the kitchens. Sometimes when we buy food, the way we keep our food, more especially the old ones, even the educated ones, they expose their food. They don't know when all these things will get there.
Flagging off the exercise, the chairman, Association of Local Governments of Nigeria, ALGON, Ogun State Chapter, Alhaji Bola Lawal, commends the leadership of Odeda, Ifo, Ewekoro, Abeokuta North and Abeokuta South local governments for supporting the state government to combat the spread of coronavirus pandemic in the state, just as Chairman Abeokuta South enjoined all communities to continually observe the COVID-19 precautionary measures.
In order for us to support the state government in the effort to eradicate all forms of germs and viruses in our community, we have to fumigate every household, every business office, every market to make sure everything is removed from our market and eradicated.
It's of the importance that it's of benefit to everyone, most especially at this period of COVID-19.
The chairman, Zonal Community Development Committee, Abeokuta South CDC, comments the initiative, saying it will go a long way in flattening the spread of COVID-19 in the state.
It is what we're supposed to have asked for, but instead of that, government has already decided voluntarily to assist us in doing this fumigation, and therefore it's a welcome idea. We will appeal to our people that they should cooperate.
Amongst the communities fumigated were Itapadi, Itesi, Erunwon, Ake, Itaoba Oyinbo, Oke Ijemo, Isale Itoko, and Oke Aregba, all in Abeokuta South local government area. Others include Ajegunle, Fajol Estate, Ishokon Fajol, Likpede Street, Obantoko, in Odeda local government area of the state.
President Muhammadu Buhari expresses displeasure over insecurity, says no more excuses from the military chiefs. More news and reports after the break. Do join us again. Welcome back. The Ogun State government has clarified the information and process for decontamination of industries and business premises as part of the measures to curtail the spread of the COVID-19 pandemic in workplaces in particular and community transmission of the virus in the state as a whole. In a press statement issued by the Chief Press Secretary to the Governor, Ogun State, Kunle Shomorin, clarified that the main objective of the infection prevention and control guidelines for workplaces in Ogun State issued earlier in the wake of COVID-19 is to ensure safe and conducive work environment for workers in both public and private sectors in the state and minimize the risk of the spread of the virus. A key element in the guidelines is the requirement for industries and business premises to regularly decontaminate their work environment. In this regard, each company or business owner is at liberty to engage any competent service provider of its choice for fumigation or decontamination, provided that the exercise is done in accordance with the standard that ensure the environment is free of COVID-19 and other pathogens that are inimical to human health and safety. This statement continued, as a responsible administration, the fumigation or decontamination requirement was a public health focused initiative and never intended as a plank for revenue generation by government or a preserve of silent selective service providers. This directive therefore clarifies and indeed supersedes any information that may have been erroneously disseminated to the public by the State Ministry of Environment. For emphasis, there are no government-accredited decontamination service providers. The government emphasizes once again that the battle against the common enemy, COVID-19, can only be won if all the stakeholders play their roles Relating the government commitment of providing required leadership and guidelines, the industry placing premium on the health and safety of their workers and individuals, having the full appreciation that in the final analysis safety and health is an individual responsibility. Now to other stories. The Deputy Governor of Ogun State, Engineer Noimo Talakoye-Dele, has joined the Secretary to the State Government, Mr. Tokunbo Talabi, and 4 former head of service in the state to honor the outgoing head of service, Tampana Mokwichoko, who will bow out of office on Friday, June the 19th, 2020. Mrs. Modupe Adekunle, Mr. Olushola Adeyemi, Mr. Abayomi Shobande, and Engineer Larry Bisiriyu, who were physically present at the office of the HOS at Okemoso Abeokuta, were joined by the Deputy Governor and SSG through Zoom to extol the virtue of Mrs. Choko and our role in moving the state civil service forward. While appreciating the retiring HOS, the Deputy Governor thanked her for maintaining her integrity and holding forth the office, saying she did not only change the status of the office but improved in it. On his part, the SSG, Mr. Tokunbo Talabi, said he was elated to have worked with Mrs. Choko, pointing out that she has brought discipline into the service and would be greatly missed by all, and pray that God would increase her in every area. Speaking earlier, Mrs. Modupe Adekunle said, though she served in various agencies but never met with Mrs. Choko before nominating her for the position of Permanent Secretary, thanking her for not disappointing the office of the HOS, the entire civil service, and the entire Ogun people. Also, in his tribute, former HOS Mr. Bayomi Shobande, while congratulating her, said she was a great team leader who carried along people that surrounded her, describing her as an energetic and friendly person. Ogun State Head of Service, Tampana Mokwichoko, has commended Traffic Compliance and Enforcement Agency trace officers across the state for their steadfastness and employing their skills in bringing sanity on highways. Mrs. Choko stated this during a farewell visit to the trace headquarters, Ibara, Abeokuta, charging them to be more diligent in their discharge of their duties and advised them to channel their various requests to the appropriate quarters.
Trying to take care of our welfare by ensuring that our work environment, all our offices are changing. If you get to Okemos and the offices are visited, people are actually improving on their offices. I believe that when you present your case to be attended.
Speaking earlier, the Chief Executive Officer and Commander of the Corps Commander and Chief Executive Officer, Trace Sheni Oguyemi, says the HOS has been supportive, understanding, and has played motherly role by encouraging them on effective traffic management in the state, praying that God will continue to protect, guide, and sustain her as she bows out of service. The Ogun State Government has inaugurated a 9-man committee for criminal justice monitoring in order to ensure that persons awaiting trial are as far as possible not detained in prison custody for a length of time beyond prescribed in Section 308, Section 117, 60 of ACJL. Speaking during the inauguration meeting of the administration of the Criminal Justice Monitoring Committee, ACJMC, held at the Judiciary Complex, Kobakwe, Abeokuta, the Chief Judge of the state, Justice Musumura Dipeolu, said that the administration of justice will be well pronounced and meaningful by the inauguration of the committee, so as to work harder and assiduously to bring justice to the state without fear or favor. Justice Dipeolu said the administration of criminal justice was enacted in May 2015, noting that it was meant to bring the Federal Court up to date in the administration of criminal justice. She added that the state followed by the enacting of its ACJL on the 3rd day of April 2018, saying that the state judiciary and indeed all stakeholders in the administration of criminal justice have been making use of the law in determination of criminal cases across the state.
However, due to several advancements, which is not restricted to technology, there was a need to shift from the use of the criminal procedure law to the new procedure for the administration of the criminal justice system, hence the advent of the ACJL.
She, however, said that there are so many hindrances against the efficient and effective application of law, imploring the Governor, Prince Dapo Abiodun, to provide the facilities needed for the full application of the law in its entirety, as it would definitely enhance the administration of criminal justice. The Attorney General and Commissioner for Justice, Mr. Adeniro, said it was imperative to inaugurate the committee in order to fasten and quicken the administration of justice in the state, noting that the era of delayed justice would be the thing of the past with the inauguration of the committee. Those inaugurated as members of the committee, including Chief Judge of the State, Honorable Justice Musumola Dikpeolu, as the Chairman, Attorney General and Commissioner for Justice, Mr. Adeniro, Co-Chairman, Honorable Judge of the State, Justice Ayokunle Rotimi Balogun, Commissioner of Police, CP Kenneth Abramson, Controller of Prison, Mr. Victor Benson, Chairman, Shagamu Nigeria Bar Association, Mr. Felix Adetoro, Director of Public Prosecution, Department, Ministry of Justice, Mr. Shegun Olauto, Director of Citizens' Rights Department, Ministry of Justice, Mr. Bamidele Adebayo, and Mrs. Kemi Oshinsoya, the Chairperson, International Federation of Women Lawyers, FIDA. In further enhancement of modern farming practice and improved yield, Ogun State Government, through the Ministry of Agriculture and Ogun State Agricultural Development Program, has distributed kits, ICT equipment, and motorcycles to extended officers after 16 years. The twin event was also used to launch the presidential COVID-19 palliative initiative on fertilizer for 5,000 smallholder farmers by the Commissioner for Agriculture in the state, Dr. Adiola Odedino. Matthew Showome completes the report.
Commissioner for Agriculture in Ogun State, Dr. Adiola Odedino, performing the launch of extension kits, motorcycles, and ICT equipment for the use of agriculture extension workers in the state. The distribution exercise, in partnership with Office Cherifindo Phosphate Africa, to 152 extension workers spread across the 20 local governments in the state, is coming 16 years after such was done in the state. Commissioner for Agriculture in the state also performed the launch of the federal government COVID-19 palliative of 10,000 MPK fertilizers for 5,000 smallholder farmers in the state. Dr. Odedino says this is a continuation of what the government is doing to ensure farmers are provided with the needed service to enhance their farming practice, as the administration recently validated the employment of additional extension workers.
OCP can testify to it that we are the first beneficiary, because we said we insisted that we have launched our planting season, come and give us our fertilizer. And I want to commend them for at least allocating 10,000 bags of fertilizer for our smallholder farmers. The foresight of Ogun State government in launching the ongoing planting material palliative for smallholder farmers also come handy.
Program Manager, Ogun State Agriculture Development Program, Dickness Taiwo Anyosonwo, says the equipment will further boost food production.
On behalf of the management of Ogtv, please help us to convey our deep appreciation to His Excellency, sir. We are grateful.
Representative of Office Cherifindo Phosphate, Mr. Oluwatoba Ashano, describes the collaboration of OCP Africa as a recognition of the achievements of the state in agricultural development.
On the declining fortunes in the oil sector, even before the emergence of the deadly virus in Nigeria. This has further been compounded by the pandemic. Therefore, the quickest road to recovery for us as a nation is to put more energy into agriculture.
Some of the extension workers appreciated the government. The launch of the extension kits, motorcycles, ICT equipment, and fertilizers is to assist the farmers in the current planting season. Matthew Shoumi, Ogtv News.
The Industrial Trading Fund, ITF, and the Ogun State government has commenced the distribution of start-up packs to the 2019 trainees under the National Industrial Skill Development Program. The Ogun State Area Manager, Mrs. Fumi Koka, while distributing the start-up packs to the beneficiaries trained in domestic wiring and electrical installation, said the distribution started on Tuesday with those in catering and event management. According to her, ITF trained 300 people in 5 skills in 2019, with 250 of them from the state government. They were trained in auto gilly making, domestic wiring and electrical installation, leather bag and shoe making, furniture making, catering and event management in 22 areas across the 3 central districts of the state.
Please remember that these trainees, they are all free. They are free skills acquisition programs that the Industrial Training Fund renders in order to curb the unemployment challenges that we have in the country. And we all know that the unemployment challenges in the country is going to be more. It is evident as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic. They have graduated, and we felt that we should give them their startup packs, and that is why today we are distributing their startup packs, which we started on Tuesday.
In his comments, Mr. Adedotun Olivia said the training has exposed him to a lot of things electrical, thanking the state government and the ITF for the opportunity to learn his desired skill. To avert the perennial problem associated with erosion and flood in Ogun State, this rainy season, the state government has started the dredging of canals and river tributaries across the state to allow for free flow of water. Commissioner for Environment, Honorable Abiodun Abudu Balogun, who monitored the dredging exercise at Bangba and Shokori Canal in Abeokuta, said the present administration has taken the bull by the horn by embarking on the exercise to prevent them from overflowing. It says the exercise is going on simultaneously in different parts of the state, especially in Ota, Abeokuta, Ifo, and Ogun waterside. Honorable Abudu Balogun called on the people living around the dredged canals and river tributaries to complement the state government's good gesture by stopping illegal human activities around them for the maximum benefit of all. Speaking at the dredged canal in Bangba, Abeokuta, the Balogun of Ijaye High Chief Ganiyu Baba Yeju lauded the intervention, adding that no effort will be spared to keep the canal free from illegal human activities, especially dumping of refuse. Part of the vision and effort of the Inspector General of Police is to ensure that criminal activities are reduced to the barest minimum by ensuring that community policing is encouraged at the grassroots level. Commissioner for Police, Ogun State Command, Kenneth Abramson, stated this during the commissioning of the Divisional Police Station at Ilishan Remo. Peter Falomon reports that the new Divisional Police Headquarters was constructed with a communal effort in their support for the Nigerian Police Force. His report.
Ilishan Remo, one of the major communities prone to various degrees of criminal activities before now, brought residents in the area to work in synergy with members of the Police Community Relations Committee to beef up security network in the area. The collaborative efforts, however, brought about the newly constructed police station to enhance security outlook in the area. In his speech, Commissioner of Police, Ogun State Command, Kenneth Abramson, appreciates the efforts of the people, adding that community policing is part of the vision of the Inspector General of Police
This police station we have brought today is symbolic in the sense that it's going to be a focal point in the mission and the vision of the Inspector General of Police, and also the mandate of the command police structure, and also the proximity of this community to the express means that we must emplace a good security network along the express so that the people of this community will go about their duties without any fear of intimidation and harassment.
The CP further assures the community people to expect total support from the State Police Command. The building documents were handed over to the Commissioner, who thereafter commissioned the police station.
To the glory of God, to the service of the nation and humanity.
Some of the residents say the project was a dream come true and will not be forgotten in the history of the town.
When we had a study done, we realized that there is no way we are going to have this quantity amount of people within the community and there will not be police presence.
Everybody that matters in this community have contributed to this vision that you are seeing today. So today we are happy.
In a related development, the State Police Commissioner, Kenneth Ebrimson, commissioned a police patrol vehicle at the Divisional Police Station, Oderemo, donated by Proforce Limited, being part of its community social responsibility in fighting crimes.
This is community policing in action. This is community engagement. This is community partnership. This is community collaboration with the police so that police will be brought closer to the community.
CP Ebrimson thereafter called on other well-meaning individuals to join hands with the Nigeria police to nip nefarious activities of hoodlums in the bud. Peter Falomo, Ogtv News.
The newly appointed Chief Imam of Egbaland, Sheikh Sahad Bangbola, has been presented to the Alake and paramount ruler of Egbaland, Oba Adedotun Aremu Gbadebo, by the Egba Muslim community at Aki Palace, Abeokuta. The monarch called on Egba Muslims to cooperate with the new Chief Imam in order to take the community to the next level. Ido Fabajo has the details.
Following the demise of the former Chief Imam of Egbaland, Alhaji Liadi Orunsholu, at the age of 98, the Egba Muslim community peacefully appointed Sheikh Saad Bangbola as the new Chief Imam. The Egba Muslim community was in Ake's palace to present the new Chief Imam to the Alake and paramount ruler of Egbaland, Oba Dr. Adedotun Aremu Gbadebo. Oba Adedotun Aremu Gbadebo thereafter charges the Egba Muslim community to support the new leadership.
Well, our Muslim brothers and sisters should continue to work together without saying who belongs to what group or who does not, and without insisting on things that will divide them.
The new Chief Imam, Sheikh Saad Bangbola, says the Egba Muslim community during his tenure will experience a positive turnaround in all spheres.
Ní ìtìmọ̀dé yìí plan ti wà lọ́nà bí a máa bẹ̀rẹ̀ sí dá iṣẹ́ sílẹ̀ a máa ní source of income tó fi dá sí pé àtẹ̀gbá àtògùn àti Nàìjíríà wọn ò ní kábàámọ̀ wípé àwa mùsùlùmí a ò nípa nínú mọ́ ṣe ń ṣèjọba tó fi ń dà kí gbogbo wa ká máa tẹ̀lé tọ́lọ́run ká dẹ̀ máa jìnnà sí gbogbo tọ́lọ́run bá kọ̀ pé kí a máa ṣe.
In an interview, the Baba Adini of Egbaland, Alhaji Rashid Raji, says the appointment of the new Chief Imam was peaceful, which affirmed the unity between the community.
We thank God that we've appointed another Chief Imam, all right? We pray that his tenure will be as peaceful, eventful, and there will be a lot of progress within the Muslim community and Egbaland as a whole.
The gathering informed the monarch that the official inauguration and turbaning of the 19th Chief Imam of Egbaland will come up on July 18, 2020. Idowu Fabajo, OGTV News.
And now to security matters. The president is not pleased with the way insecurity is being handled in many parts of the country and is not mincing words about it. This indication came after President Muhammadu Buhari met with service chiefs on Thursday at the presidential villa in Abuja, the nation's capital. He warned the head of nation security agencies that excuses would no longer be tolerated and asked them to do more to secure the nation and its people. While the service chiefs are trying their best to tackle the issue of insecurity in the country, the president insisted that their best is not good enough. The National Security Advisor, Major General Babagana Mungono, disclosed this to journalists at the end of the meeting. He added that the president has ordered him to meet with the state governors in the Northwest and that of Niger State in order to identify the problems and find solution to them. President Buhari met the service chiefs against the backdrop of bandit attacks in communities in the region, including those in his home state, Katsina. The Air Task Force of Operation Lafia Dole has destroyed a compound housing some high-value Boko Haram terrorist leaders and neutralized some of their fighters at Gani Maluma on the fringes of Sambisa Forest in Borno State. This was achieved through massive airstrikes executed to mark the launch of Operation Long Reach, a new subsidiary operation in the theater. According to a statement made available by the Defense Media Operations John Enache, the attack at Garin Maloma, a major node in the BHT's line of communication in the Sambisa Forest axis, was undertaken based on credible intelligence reports as well as days of surveillance missions indicated that the terrorists had begun using one of the compounds in the settlement for accommodation and training of their fighters. According to ATF, dispatched an intelligence, surveillance and reconnaissance aircraft and fighter jets to attack the location. Overhead, the target are many Boko Haram fighters were observed in the vicinity of the settlement, with a few around the solar panel mounted high-value target location. The Nigerian Air Force fighter jets engaged the location in substantive waves of attacks, leading to significant damage to numerous structures as well as killing of several terrorists. Some terrorists who survived the first few waves and covered around the rubble near the damaged compound were taken out in subsequent follow-up attacks. The Chief of Air Staff, Air Marshal Sadiq Abubakar, who was in Maiduguri to flag off Operation Long Reach, commended the Air Task Force, directing them to intensify the air offensive against terrorists and all other enemies of our great nation. President Muhammadu Buhari has congratulated Evariste Ndayishimiye on assumption of office as president of Burundi after a swearing-in ceremony in the political capital, Gitega. A statement by the senior special assistant to the president of media and publicity, Garba Shehu, says the president also felicitates with the government and people of Burundi on the historic peaceful transition to a democratically elected government after the sudden demise of President Pierre Nkurunziza. With a resounding victory at the polls, the Nigerian leader believes that President Ndayishimiye, who had made and served the Secretary General of the ruling CNDD-FDD party and played an active role in gathering the country on the path of peace and development, as what it takes to consolidate democracy in the East African country. President Buhari looks forward to working with the new Burundi leader and his government to strengthen the warm relationship between the two countries. And now to business news. Federation Account Allocation Committee shares 547.309 billion naira to the three tiers of government for May. Welcome to Business News. The Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN, has announced the sum of 432 billion naira to support farmers of 9 key commodities for the 2020 planting season. The Director of Development Finance at the CBN, Mr. Yusuf Yila, announced this on Thursday at a meeting organized by the Apex Bank for farmers under its Anchor Borrows program in Abuja. It listed the commodity to include rice, maize, poultry, cassava, tomatoes, fish, cotton, cocoa, and dairy. According to Yila, the intervention is expected to produce over 8.3 million metric tons of targeted commodities. The Federation Account Allocation Committee has shared 547.309 billion naira to the three tiers of government as Federation allocation for May 2020. From this amount, inclusive VAT, exchange gain, and excess bank charges recovered, the federal government received 219.799 billion naira, state 252.436 billion naira, while the local government councils got 114.095 billion naira. All producing states received 37.021 billion naira. As derivation, 23.958 billion naira was shared as cost of collection, FIRS refund and allocation to Northeast Development Commission. A communique by the Federal Account Allocation Committee at the end of the meeting indicated that the gross revenue available from the value-added tax for May 2020 was 103.873 billion naira as against the 94.498 billion naira distributed in the preceding month of April 2020, resulting in an increase of 9.377 billion naira. On the foreign segment of the news, French President Emmanuel Macron in London for 80th anniversary of a famous wartime broadcast. More news in the foreign segment of the news. On the world today, French President Emmanuel Macron is in London to mark the 80th anniversary of a famous wartime broadcast. President Trump administration is making a last-ditch effort to stop the publication of a damaging new book by former National Security Advisor. This on the world today.
U.S. President Donald Trump